Arin has been a character that I have been fairly concerned about since the end of Season 3 of Dragon's Rising, and going into Season 4, I was actually very clear in the fact that I was worried about the future when it did come to his character. And to an extent, I was somewhat right. It does feel like Arin has not really become a main character when it does come to Season 4. He was actually the ninja that I had the most issue with when it did come to Season 4, because he feels like he is the most neglected out of the lot, and honestly that is just extremely sad to see. But you may not understand what I mean when I say this, and that is what I want to go through today. I want to talk about Arin and what he actually did when it did come to Season 4, and show how it is in comparison to the seasons that came before, and just show that it feels like he is being somewhat forgotten, and just doesn't really feel like a main character anymore. And I want to make something clear, when I say main character, I don't mean the complete focus. Because a ninja cannot have the main focus of every single season because it would simply be unfair. But when I say that Arin hasn't become the main character, I mean that in this season, he's just missing a lot of what made him himself. So yeah, I'm going to look through it all today with you guys and come to a conclusion, and talk about where they could go with him moving forth. Because like I said, my concern has been there, and it has grown. So let me not waste any more of your time, and let's talk about Arin in Season 4. Now, like I said, he had a lot of priority when it did come to the first 3 seasons and 6 parts. In Season 1, his whole emphasis was becoming a ninja, was learning object spinjitzu, was learning just to basically be a ninja through and through. Come Season 2, we get to see him follow through with that journey, see his failures, and ultimately see how he succumbs to Raz. See how Raz manipulates him into actually becoming a part of his own team. And then Season 3, we get to see his adventures with Raz. We get to see him train himself under the teachings of Raz, and eventually break free of Raz's chains and actually see him stop Thunderfang from destroying the merged realms as we knew it. There was so much placed on him during this time, and it was amazing. And that's not even to say all of it. I'm not mentioning the fact that he was trying to find his parents, and there was a lot of emphasis put on his parents. It was one of the biggest parts of Season 3 Part 2, and it just feels like there was so much going for him over this course of time, and even in the seasons where it wasn't a priority, he was definitely still there. But with Season 4, he just kind of became relegated to just repositioning himself as the person who just talks about everything that came beforehand. With all of the characters being reintroduced into the season itself, like Hugh Fraser and Zane, we just get to see him basically just recount everything that did happen prior. There is nothing new when it does come to Arin. There is no new motive, there's no new belief, there's no new thought that brings him forth, and I honestly do find that really concerning, and you can see that resembled in basically all of his attributes. Yes, he does retain his object spinjitzu and his spinjitzu in of itself, and that is really cool, but it feels like the rest of him's kind of gone. During their time in the Whispering Woods, Arin doesn't really talk about his parents. He doesn't talk about how he's away from them. He doesn't talk about how he misses them. He doesn't talk about how he's worried about what's going on with them as of the point of them being lost. He doesn't really use his grapple. As far as I'm aware, he doesn't even use it at all in Season 4 Part 1. I may be incorrect, and if I am, please point it out, but as far as I can tell, Sora uses his grapple hook in Season 4 more than he does, which I think is absolutely jarring considering it was one of his main defining traits earlier on. All of these little things about him are just kind of on the wayside. There is just nothing to bring back up. He barely even brings up his past, which was honestly something I was worried about. I was worried that they were going to spend Season 4 of him trying just to recall about how he was manipulated by Raz, but they don't even attempt to do that. It feels like there was just no time given to him in the first place. Arin's role in Season 4 for the most part was just simply fighting off a few elemental monsters and just reassuring the Dragon of Life that Lloyd will complete the trial. There is really not much else going on for him, and I think that's just honestly really sad to see. They kind of preempted, kind of forcefully gives him something at the end where he has to be the one that recalls all the elemental monsters from the Weapon of Desolation. But the thing is that that's something that could have been done by anyone that doesn't have elemental power, which is in abundance, especially considering that they were in a public area at the time. It's just something that Arin does because he was the closest person to it. So the one thing that gives him a moment in the season wasn't even something that only he had to do. And this is why my head went to this idea that he's just kind of become a character that just isn't really important now. It feels like he's just not really there. It feels like he just doesn't have something that really contributes to the team in Season 4 Part 1, which is just really sad to say. And again, like I said in my intro, I'm not saying that he needed something that would make him the full-blown priority, something that would put him at the complete center of the plot of Season 4, but I'm also saying he needed something to make him stand out. All of the ninja had this in this season. Cole's solo arc, Jay actually getting his memories back, Kai and Nia actually finding and helping out Jay with that. Even though it's not something that is solely to them, it is something that still did make them stand out. Lloyd, of course, having his entire arc, Frack and his father, Wildfire and her whole story of not being manipulated by the realm of Eternal Dawn, Sora dealing with her parents at the very end. All of them had something that actually was something of note, but Arin simply didn't. Arin was so devoid of anything to do in the season to the point where people mistakenly re-brought up this idea that Arin has elemental power. When Lloyd completes the trial of the Green Ninja, all of the team's eyes light up. This is meant to symbolize the fact that they are all connected to Lloyd, but when Arin's light lights up green, people conceive that as Arin having elemental powers. That's just not the case. It's been confirmed that he doesn't have elemental abilities. But the thing is that when he has nothing else, it would have at least have given him something to actually have, but unfortunately they just don't really. Another thing that they had that could have at least have been something was the scene where Arin is doing Spinjitzu and Zane takes notice of the red streaks throughout his Spinjitzu tornado. Zane talks about how he would love to analyze it further, and Arin is concerned about the fact that his Spinjitzu is corrupt. This could have had some sort of arc of Arin having doubt about using Spinjitzu again, having him question whether or not he should be doing Spinjitzu until Lloyd teaches him a different method of performing the maneuver. But no, Arin just continues to use it without any sort of thought whatsoever, even though that there is this concept that there are consequences to it. There is just nothing given to him here, and it's just really sad to see. This all for me is harping back to a video I made a while ago where I was talking about how I was worried about the future of Arin. One of the things that I talked about is the fact that now he has got Spinjitzu, he's back with the ninja, and he's got his parents, he just doesn't really have anything to do anymore. And I feel like this is the worst case scenario for me because it feels like this was actualized. It feels like he just didn't have anything to actually do here. It feels honestly a shame that he just didn't really have much to really do throughout the season. Nothing is exclusive to Arin here, and it truly does hurt. I think the biggest symbolization of how Arin really does feel like a background character this season is completely defined by his outfit. He gets a new outfit this season, which is really cool looking, and potentially my favourite one of the bunch. Going away from this darkened black and purple version that's meant to symbolise the fact that he's evil. Going to the blue and going to the orange to represent that he's back on the good side was absolutely amazing. But it's the only outfit this season that doesn't have a distinct origin. The spectral suits of the ninja are continued to use until they unlock the Draconis suits through dragon form. It all tracks and it makes complete sense. I absolutely love it. But Arin literally just waltzed onto screen at some point during the season with this new suit with no reasoning whatsoever. It makes absolutely no sense, and I truly do detest it. But all of this does lead into a very important question that I am honestly worried about knowing the answer to. Like I said, I talked about my worries about Arin going into Season 4, but what are my thoughts about the future of Arin in a post-Season 4 Part 1 world? What does the future of one of the main characters of Dragon's Rising look like with recent knowledge at hand? And honestly, I don't like what I'm seeing. The end of Season 4 Part 1 show him communicating with Sora, and Sora seeing her parents arrive at the Monastery of Spinjitzu. It seems to be that Season 4 Part 2 is going to put a lot of emphasis on Sora, and I like that. I think that's really cool, especially considering that Sora hasn't had all that much in recent time. But the thing is that this will be at the consequence of Arin. I think Arin will spend Season 4 Part 2 servicing a Sora plot point instead of actually having his own, in similar vein to the Lloyd one of Season 4 Part 1. It seems to be that Arin is destined to be the accompaniment of one of the main ninja of the respective season. And again, that is not bad whatsoever because plenty of the ninja are doing this. Zane did it in Part 1, Kai did it in Part 1, and Nia did it in Part 1. But the thing is, and the difference between them and Arin is that they still had little moments that made them really interesting to see. We got to see the connection between Nia and Jay. We get to see Kai adapt to the situation and try to help Jay and actually be there for him, something that we haven't seen with Kai in a very long time. Zane also showing his more human side and helping Lloyd when it does come to embracing who he is and helping him figure out the trial of the Green Ninja. All of them have these moments and just Arin doesn't. And if he does go into Season 4 Part 2 and he's just at the service of the Sora plot with nothing for himself, I'm truly worried that's going to be the downfall of him. I truly think that if that was going to happen, it would solidify the fact that as of the end of Season 3 Part 2, they've rounded him off and they just don't know what to do with him beyond it, which just calls further questions in. What does the rest of Dragon's Rising look like with Arin? What does post-Dragon's Rising look like with Arin? Will he even still be in the show after Dragon's Rising? It really is concerning, and I hope he is, but with this in mind, I just don't know if it's going to happen. Again, it's very likely that this was just a low point for him in this season, and he may be completely back come Part 2. But as it stands, and considering that I called it from a mile away, I'm scared at the fact that I feel like it's going to carry on. I think the best way to summarize it for me is that Arin really does need to be given a new spark. He needs to be given a new hope. He needs to be given a new belief, a new reason to carry on. He needs to be given something that will truly make him become back at the forefront of the ninja team, giving him his moments, giving him his time to shine, and giving him something that will make him stand out in future seasons. Because if they don't, he's just going to be another character that the Ninjago community will forget about. And I really don't want that to happen because of all of the time we have invested into him, but I just don't know if we're going to get that. But on an overall, I have faith in the Ninjago writers. I don't think they would allow this to happen, and I really do think it will be recovered come the future. But as it stands, I've just had a lot of hope lost because of his treatment. But that's just not really a bad thing by any account. It may just be a weak season for him. But I would love to know what you guys think. Do you like Arin in Season 4 Part 1? Do you like the role he played? Do you like what we actually got to see with him, and what you think we'll see with him in the future? I would love to know what you think, and maybe I'm just doom and glooming, but honestly, I just don't know how else to think at this point in time. I will say, the very few things that we had I did think were fine, and I do still like the character. It's just I can't really shake my worries about him. But thank you very much for watching the video, and I do hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please consider subscribing. I love discussing Ninjago with more people, and if you do want to support the channel any further, which you do not have to, you could always become a channel member and join the legends that you see on screen. Each of you, your support means the absolute world to me, and I cannot thank you enough. But like I said, that is about it for today, and take care. Okay,